Hello and welcome, everyone. I am so honored to be welcoming in our special speaker today, Simone Niles.
Mm.
Simone is an expert sound healer and coach who offers grounded and practical teachings focused on helping soul-driven creatives and entrepreneurs to use their voice for healing, transformation, and impact. She's
Mm.
training the next generation of sound healers and shamanic practitioners to spread sound healing into the world. We're so thankful to welcome you today, Simone.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'd love to just dive right in and
Sure.
welcome you to share about your own personal journey with sound healing and how you began this sacred work.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking. So, my journey started quite young, in that from as young as age 7, I would say that I knew that sound was going to be a part of my life. I wanted to be a singer. And I was one of those children that never wavered from that path. It felt like this is what I'm going to do with my life. Due to my father's job at the time, we traveled quite a lot. And at the time, around the same age, 6 or 7, I relocated from New York in the States over to Barbados, where my father was born. And it was quite a traumatic experience from an educational perspective. And so school felt quite hard for me. And I remembered coming home after school every day, doing what I had to do, my chores, my homework, but then climbing my favorite tree in the garden and just singing to my heart's content. And I would say that this became, over time, what I would call my daily ritual, where I just come home, sing, lean back in the tree, and that's what I did very often. As I went through my schooling in general, by the time I got to college, I thought, well, I have to pick something to do, but music wasn't as readily available to me in the way that I wanted to study it. So I opted for languages, as I enjoyed that, and I felt, it was decent. But yet college, I was still just so unfulfilled. It just felt like I'm just not aligned with this, just like I felt like I was in when I was in primary school. And so I'd skip my classes very often, Spanish and French and sociology, and go into the auditorium with some of my friends and again sing. I'd sing, we'd go into harmonies, sing all of our favorite 90s tunes, and that would just light up my day, and I felt so much joy. As time progressed, and I later moved over to the United Kingdom, I studied music formally, where I was really fortunate to tour the world with some incredible musicians and also teach in some really beautiful universities here. And teaching was something that was really lighting me up. I was able to work with performers who wanted to share their gifts, who wanted to sing and express themselves into the world. And as time went on, I realized there's something about teaching and coaching that really lights me up. So I'm following this thread of following the joy, following those little sparks that light me up. And I started my own business in the coaching field. So I went into life coaching and I thought, right, this is it. Here I am. I'm feeling fulfilled. Something is happening. And I realized, okay, but now my worlds feel quite separate. On one hand, I'm in the music industry, singing and touring and teaching. And on the other hand, I'm coaching people and I'm loving both. Well, how can I bring them together? I found myself at a seminar in Orange County, California, which was very business related, all about joint ventures and partnering with other coaches. And on the final day there, we had, I think it was a farewell party or something like that. And I went into the hotel room to get ready for this party. And in that moment, I looked at myself in the mirror. And those moments where you look deep into your soul, I wasn't looking just at my physical appearance. I looked deeply into my own eyes. And I just saw myself so clearly, almost for the first time as an adult. And something told me in the moment to hit record on my phone. And just as I did that and I stared at myself in the mirror, the tears started to pour. And this song download came through me in that moment. Even talking about it now, I can feel that amazing energy. And the lyrics were something along the lines of, how does my sound heal the world? And I went off on a 3-minute improvisation with tears flowing down my face, feeling that this was what I call this magical download that told me that I needed to bring sound and my voice more into the work that I was doing. So that is really what guided me towards the sound healing, because I realized I can serve people and help people and serve the creatives and the entrepreneurs that I've been helping so long in a way where sound and voice becomes one of the major, most profound tools of my work. And when I think about that journey that I've just shared, and I think the reflections that I've had or hindsight, when I was feeling traumatized as a child, I went to the tree to sing. When I was feeling unfulfilled in college, I went to the auditorium to sing. And when I was feeling like something wasn't quite aligned in my work life, I had a magical download through song. And all of it was related to voice. So this led me really to this calling of learning how to use my voice in that way that gives me more information. I'm a very creative and curious creature, so I wanted to learn more about it. And even coming through the performance industry, I noticed how sound helped my clients or people to reduce anxiety when they're getting on stage and they're afraid to get up and do their thing. Inviting them to use their voice as a tool for relaxation and reset was super powerful. So I really feel that everything that I've done so far in my journey has led me here. And since then, I've been really just continuing to lean in with curiosity and joy.
I love that you have this curiosity and joy and you share it so beautifully.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for sharing
much.
about, yeah, the introduction to the journey. And I'd love to hear if you have an example or a story of a particularly powerful healing session or a transformational experience that you've facilitated as a sound healer.
Wow, that's a great question. Thank you. Well, there's so many. One that automatically comes to mind is a client of mine came in having was basically came in with a very badly sprained ankle, walking with crutches and feeling quite emotional because that stopped her from doing some of the really important things that she set up for her life in that moment. And she came into the room saying, I just feel like I need to just get back to myself, let all of this go. I'm in pain. I'm feeling emotional. Can you help? And I said, of course. So, as we do in the sound healing sessions, just set the intention for what it was that she wanted. And I invited her to connect with the pain that she was feeling, both within the emotional body, the emotions that were present at the time, as well as the pain, the physical pain that she was feeling around her ankle. And we did this separately, but I invited her to do that. And I said, now, what would that sound like? And can we sound that out? Can we sound it out of the body, out of the energy system? And she used her voice and created the most interesting sounds, from grunts to hisses to kind of really crackly sounds. And she just kept doing that until all she wanted to do was take a few breaths in and out. And then I invited her to then think about what she wanted to feel instead. And of course, it would be pain free and to feel a lot more relaxed within that emotions and the emotional body. So then we sounded together some beautiful harmonious sounds to bring in what it is that she wanted to feel instead. After about an hour and a half to 90 minutes of working together, she felt so amazing. She just couldn't believe how relaxed she felt, but she was also able to walk out of the room without the crutches. And that's the first time that she had, she was on them for about 6 weeks. So for her, it felt very miraculous. And I'm always so grateful to witness this beauty and this magic that happens in this space. And for me, it is just a great reminder, the power of the voice and sound, how we can sound things out and how we can also sound things in, how we can use our voice to release emotions, things that don't feel like they're serving us from moment to moment, and how we can sound in joy and bliss and pleasure. What does courage sound like? It's just so beautiful and magical to know that all of these states of being have a sound and we can connect with them through our voice.
Mm. And you talk about the power of the voice being our greatest ally. And I wonder if you can expand on this and how people can also bring this superpower into their daily lives.
Oh, I love this question. I like to personify the voice. And if you think about a relationship, if you think about your best friend, someone that you care about, often what you want in a relationship is someone that you can trust, someone that you can rely on and that will show up for you, that you will show up for. And I like to think of the voice in the same way. And what happens when we are connected to our voice and we treat it with that respect and the sacred, connection that we can have, then I feel there's so much potential in our everyday lives. For example, using the voice from an inside out approach. We have an internal dialogue going on, right? What you say to yourself matters. How you express that in yourself into the world matters. And the voice really is an opportunity and a vehicle to allow you to do just that. And it starts by building a connection. How do you build a relationship or a connection? You spend time with each other. You get to learn about the ins and outs of someone else. And so when you learn about your voice, you can tap into the potential that allows you to build that solid relationship, which then impacts your life in so many beautiful ways. From a self-connection and healing perspective, from connecting and communicating with others, whether that's personally or professionally. And then, of course, the ripple effect of that is so beautiful. So how do we bring that into our everyday lives? We get to know our voices. And I like to think about it where you start to just recognize some of the things that you use your voice for now, some of the sounds that you make unconsciously. What if you brought those sounds into your conscious awareness and then used them for your benefit? One of the most beautiful and simple ways of connecting sound to breath and to the body is through a sigh. And no one tells you, okay, you're feeling a little bit tired or you're feeling a bit frustrated, sigh. The body just knows when to sigh. It knows when to take that breath in and let it out. And if you're noticing these things and how they feel and the release that you feel when you sigh, what if you were to bring a sigh into a conscious practice as an example? Or noticing the sounds of pleasure, having the foods that you love, taking something and putting it into your mouth and these are the sounds that we make instinctively and we don't think about them. So what I like people to do as a starting point is just to bring their awareness to the things and the sounds that they're making right now and how they can use those to impact them in their daily life in a conscious way.
Hmm. I'm often doing the sound, so I really appreciate this and weaving in all of these ways throughout the day that we're already using sound healing. And something that you also share about that is very powerful is the intentions and setting intentions and bringing that into sound healing. Can you help to elaborate on this?
Sure, of course. Now, intention, I could have an hour just to speak about this. This is one of my favorite topics. For me, intention really is fuel. It's the fuel, the magnifier, it's directed energy. And I like to also think about it as this doorway to this universal energy field that we all have access to. So earlier I spoke about having my client talk about what she wanted to get out of the session, and we held that intention. So we were directing sound with that very specific intention of healing, of releasing, and that is what then manifested. And so for me, adding sound and intention together is magical, it's profound. I'll give you an example, and this is probably a question that I've asked over 1,000 times to students over the years. Imagine if you went into a building and behind door A, there was a performer who, when you went through the door, you could hear that the technique was good, everything was coming out. It was, it was pretty good. You could appreciate the technicality. It was beautiful, but somehow you weren't moved. Then you went through door B, and you could hear, let's say, the technical flaws or the pitch or the things fluctuating, but you were moved to your core, your heartstrings were pulled. Who would you go back to see first? Now, the beautiful thing is, of course, we could break the walls down between the two, but most people, I think the answer to that question has always been door B, because ultimately we want to be moved. We want to feel something in our heart. We want to feel that expression. And when we set intention, we are directing our expression. When we're setting intention for healing, we are directing the sound, the energy towards that purpose. And there's nothing like having that directed energy, whether that's again in your personal practice or certainly when you're working with clients, because what you're doing is you're holding space for them to step into their power and allow the healing to take place.
And with that healing that is taking place, I mean, that's really the juice. That's why we're here. So thank you so much for sharing about that. And I want to also get to hear about, in your experience, what are some of the common misconceptions and myths that are surrounding sound healing?
Yeah, I think there are quite a few. The first thing that comes to mind is actually around the use of the word healer. A lot of people feel uncomfortable whether that's using the word or hearing the word. And many moons ago, the word healer simply meant someone coming to assist in healing or supporting someone who's unwell. It also meant doctor or physician. And healer was just the person who would come and help. And for me, it's understanding that that is exactly what a sound healer does. We don't do the healing. What we are is a catalyst or facilitator to allow the healing to take place, to allow the body's natural innate system to step in and do the work. And that means it requires the client or the person to take responsibility for their own healing, which I think is super important. It's also considered to be sometimes this wishy-washy woo-woo sort of thing. And while it's fine for people to think that, I think it's really important, and it's being made clearer now more than ever how much science there is to support sound healing. And we see sounds and frequency used in medicine, from ultrasound, lots of different sonic machines. So we know that these things are being used. I think what a lot of people are waking up to now is recognizing that they actually can use their voice and other instruments to create sounds in a healing capacity as well. So most importantly, just realizing it is strongly backed by science, and we are, as healers, are catalysts to help others take responsibility for their own healing.
Hmm. Yeah. And I would love to also get to hear any tips on that note for people that want to bring in the sound healing and bring that into their daily lives and have more of a practice with it. Can you
Yes.
share about how others can incorporate this and create this sound healing as just a part of their life?
Yes, sure. I mean, I touched on it slightly before in terms of recognizing or being aware of the sounds that you make. So let's call that step one. The second step I would invite people to do is literally just to start sounding. What are some of the sounds that you can make? So humming and sighing, but also inviting vowels into your practice. And that is as simple as taking a breath in and ooh, allowing the sounds to flow, allowing these sounds to flow. A daily practice could be 5 minutes at a time, creating these sounds. However, when you add an intention to the practice, again, it magnifies it, it adds the fuel. So you can, for example, say, I'd love today to be one of the most beautiful days I've had in a long time, and sound with that intention. I'd love to have some ease and grace in the meeting that I have coming up at work, and sound into that intention. So really, it's just inviting people to be receptive and open to knowing that it's just as easy as setting the intention and sounding whatever feels right in the moment. And the great thing is, whatever sound you make is right for right now.
Oh, I love that because it gives us all permission to let whatever sound is channeling through be the sound for the moment. So thank you for that. And going beyond this moment, I'd love to hear about what you can visualize as the future of sound healing and looking ahead in the future. How do you envision it?
I love that question. I wish I could say that we could wave a magic wand and everyone see what I know I see, and what's possible in the world of sound in general. I believe with sound becoming more mainstream through sound baths, voice bath, gong baths, practitioners stepping out and doing the work, that the ripple effect will be, I want to say threefold rather than twofold, but endless possibilities. Because what we're doing is we're inviting people to use the tools that are easily accessible. Our voice is our original instrument. It's the instrument that we all have access to at some level. And when we're accessing this and using it as a tool for change, for healing, for transformation, for impact, then we have happier households, we have happier people. That spreads out into the community, that spreads out into the world. And the more harmony that starts with you as an individual in this work, that ripple effect is just profound. And so for me, I see the world moving more towards what is considered alternative health ways of looking at things. But I see sound as one of the original ways of healing. So we're actually just coming back to what we know. We're coming back to the origins of how sound has been used by our ancestors so many years ago. So the future is really about embracing, being open, taking responsibility for our own healing, and recognizing the power of the voice. And for me, this is why I do the work I do. You know, my mission is to, I would say, create a sacred army of sound healers to go out there and spread healing and sound into the rest of the world.
Oh, what a gorgeous vision of this sacred army of sound healers. It's gonna take multitudes. So that is such a gift to hold the vision. Can we just give a sound to that vision? And you shared so much with us. Thank you so much. And I'm just curious, do you have any ideas for next step for our multitude of sound healers who are activating and activated and ready to bring their medicine forth into their world?
Absolutely. I honestly, it is really just one foot in front of the other. You know, get support, continue to learn and grow, be curious and play, and also just stay connected to why you're doing it in the first place. I think anyone that gets into this type of work, there is something that drives us to do it, whether that is for our own healing, which often is where it starts, and or being of service to the world. Just put one foot in front of the other, because all the steps add up. And I offer a lot of support to sound healers, so people can find me online at my website and across all social platforms, supporting sound healers, also training sound healers and shamanic practitioners. So I welcome you into my community and family, and let us build the sacred army together.
We are with you. And I want to just let our beautiful listeners know that you can click on your screen to purchase the premium access to the summit, which will include unlimited access to all of the summit sessions, transcripts, and bonuses. And you'll be able to find much more about our beautiful guest here. Thank you so much, Simone Niles. It's been such a blessing to get to have you with us. We really appreciate your wisdom.
Thank you so, so much for having me.